Filler. 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 No. Filler. No. No. Shut up! Okay, I'm not starting a video with the Gintama clip. You've all seen this by now. If you've ever discussed television on the internet whatsoever, then it's too late. It's too late! You've no doubt seen discussions about filler episodes, or have even engaged with them yourself. Filler is one of the more contentious topics when it comes to discussing TV shows beyond the growing concerns over the public's lack of media literacy. Steven Universe is not bad. Okay, they should be gone now, let's have an adult conversation. The most commonly accepted definition of a filler episode that the majority of people believe in is an episode of a TV show that does not meaningfully impact the plot and characters in any way. Basically, if an episode of a TV show does not do anything to move the story forward or develop its characters, it essentially holds no value to the overall narrative and can be safely skipped if the viewer feels inclined to do so. After all, if you're watching a narratively driven TV show, then why wouldn't you want to exclusively focus on the episodes that are important to the narrative? The average person does not have a ton of free time. Most people are employed. Haha, yes, the YouTubers telling people to get a job, but seriously, I don't blame people who naturally want to skip any part of a TV show that they think isn't worth their time. That stuff's precious after all, and you don't want to waste it on something pointless and be miserable about it. League of Legends but there's just one problem. This definition here, the one that encapsulates what most people believe about filler episodes, yeah, that definition is wrong. Not because I wrote it, but the definition of filler has gone through decades of being twisted around into something that it isn't, and it always boils my piss when I see people say, yeah man, you should totally skip this episode, there's no story progression here, it's filler.
I'm gonna kick your fucking ass, man!
So, what is a filler episode? Well, it's pretty simple actually. It's an episode that fills in space, you fucking— It was in the name! It was in the name the whole time! An actual 100% filler episode is an episode of a TV show that exists purely to fill out the episode count, and they have a reputation for being easily spotted due to them feeling sloppily written and lazily put together compared to other episodes in their respective series. And while it's absolutely true that pretty much all filler episodes are not story important and don't do anything to develop the characters, these two things are not mutually exclusive. Furthermore, filler is not exclusive to story-focused TV shows and can be found in episodic ones as well. However, at some point many people began naturally associating any episode of a show that doesn't progress the main story as being filler. To be blunt, this mostly derived from anime discussions, with anime's popularity skyrocketing throughout the 2000s and into the 2010s, with shows like Naruto and One Piece specifically getting grilled for just how much filler they have. One Piece specifically having dozens of arcs that are just filler. This happened because of the natural struggle of trying to adapt a manga into an anime while the manga is still going, and having to create a bunch of random bullshit so the anime doesn't catch up too quickly. Hey, it's the Gintama clip again. Over time, as anime's popularity skyrocketed around the world, this mentality towards filler began to bleed into discussions about TV in general, and now, here we are. I'm not saying that there weren't people with this mentality before the anime discussion started blowing up, but there was a very noticeable shift. So what's my point with all of this? Well, this title is technically a double lie, because this video is definitely about filler episodes, but not actual filler episodes. I want to focus on the episodes that everyone writes off as filler anyway, the episodes that don't have a ton of story progression or character development, but also are definitely not traditional filler episodes, and why I've always had a lot of appreciation for these episodes, and just how much they subtly assess the impact of the big story and character moments we're all watching for, and why I'm getting increasingly frustrated that we're living in an era where most seasons last for only 10 to 20 episodes and contain an exhausting amount of plot. Filler episodes are good, actually. There's your title drop, fuck. Alright, now let's talk about plot. Solo leveling is— You feel very sleepy. Nowadays, most people are getting hooked on TV shows for the plot and characters and not much else. Thanks for pausing the video, Molar. Anyway, and a lot of shows now are very aware of that fact, and you can see that of just how many shows are giving increasingly shorter episode counts per season, with basically all of them focusing on the plot. Now, there's nothing wrong with making a series focused entirely on the plot, or just having a majority of the episodes focus on the plot. But speaking personally, unless the series in question is nigh on perfect, or simply executes everything it sets out to do with minimal issues, I tend to have a hard time getting truly invested because I just haven't spent enough time with this world and these characters yet. When your story is constantly barreling towards the conclusion with of plot beat after character arc after plot beat after character arc after massive story moments, it can be hard to stay completely invested for some people because there isn't enough downtime. I'm friends with some people who straight up dropped Jujutsu Kaisen for being so overwhelmingly plot focused while not doing much outside of the main plot to get you to care about the world and characters. Now, I like Jujutsu Kaisen for the most part, and I do like how streamlined it is, with its approach to only consisting of intense story moments. There is no filler here, and obviously there are moments in certain episodes that are much slower and give the characters some room to breathe, but I also completely understand how this would be overwhelming to someone and how it can stop them from caring altogether. This is where the value of quote-unquote filler episodes becomes apparent. Again, just because an episode does not entirely focus on progressing the story or making huge swings when it comes to character development doesn't mean it's filler, and therefore worthless. If anything, the main appeal of these slower and less story important episodes is that they take their time to endear you more to the characters and they serve to better pace the story. Now, it's not like every show 100% focused on story needs to have these slower and less important episodes. Death Note is pretty much entirely story focused, and I couldn't imagine that show having any major filler episodes due to how well crafted the whole thing is and how it's already a slowly paced show to begin with and takes its time with things, depending on how you feel about the second half anyway. But it all depends on the execution and pacing. It's good to give your stories and characters some time to breathe, and I think there's a lot of enjoyment to get out of seeing characters just chill out, not burdened with the weight of the main plot. There can still be action, drama, or emotional moments in these self-contained episodes. There's nothing dictating that there can't be. I believe these moments of downtime can be an excellent showcase to the characters' personalities, their dynamics, and their relationships. Weirdly, the existence of episodes not focused on the main plot or character development end up giving these characters much more depth and allow them to feel much more real to the viewer. It adds more weight to their future actions, interactions, and arcs. Rounding out these, hopefully, layered and complicated characters with these more low-key episodes that allow them to feel much more human makes the future drama and story-focused episodes that much more impactful. You've seen all kinds of aspects of these people, their happiness, their anger, their sadness. You've seen them lock in and goof off. You've seen how they interact with others outside the main plot, their dynamics and relationships firmly established in your mind. It's almost crucial context that unfortunately a lot of people tend to miss out on because they see an episode isn't entirely focused on moving the plot forward, assume it's filler, and then just decide to skip it. The story can still work without these episodes, but the impact is noticeably neutered. Long-time subscribers are probably getting sick of me bringing up Gravity Falls, I admit it's a problem, but Gravity Falls is a show that's almost 70% these kinds of episodes. Now, the show does have its underlying mysteries and secrets, and each episode does contain something that's slightly plot important, but the episodes they're featured in are mostly self-contained adventures and help to sell the impact of the later story-focused episodes, when the mystery solving finally comes to a boil and you see just how much these characters have subtly changed over the course of the series, and how all of that time watching them goof off and have these small adventures has led to you becoming so emotionally invested you may end up shedding a tear or two. Then you got shows like Cowboy Bebop, which are almost entirely these kinds of episodes and feel almost episodic in nature. Cowboy Bebop obviously has an ending that it builds up to, and each character is multi-layered and well developed, with episodes focusing on them specifically, namely Spike. But most of the show is just super chill. And if you ever ask me the question of, hey, I want to get into Cowboy Bebop, what filler episode should I skip? I will have you imprisoned and killed. But on top of this, and this is where I think I'm going to be a little controversial, the effect of seeing these characters have these quieter and chill episodes where not much important happens and the benefits it has on the series overall, you might be able to get these out of actual filler episodes as well. Look, not all filler episodes are created equal. Some are made purely to fill up space, and their sloppy execution and boring story will usually make that apparent, which is why this is a bit of a double-edged sword, and whether you agree with this take or not, I find it fascinating to talk about. The most undesirable kind of episode for any TV show still having a positive impact in the long run because it gives you extra time with the world and characters. And hell, if you're lucky, you'll end up getting an episode that's technically filled with filler and is still masterfully executed. Fly is one of the most underrated episodes of Breaking Bad, with many people writing it off as a typical filler episode, given the entire thing is about Walter chasing a fly. Yet it's still an extremely well written and well shot episode despite it being made on a limited budget. Vision Quest is one of Archer's funniest episodes, and the entire thing just consists of the characters being stuck in an elevator for 20 minutes. Archer is definitely not a show that takes itself super seriously or anything, but the episode relies purely on the show's greatest strength, being its characters and dialogue, and those are just two examples of great filler episodes. In an ideal world, no show on the planet would have anything resembling filler. Right? I mean, sure, I'll always appreciate a show that's cleanly focused and consistent with its quality throughout, but I also appreciate the inherent benefits that filler episodes, good or bad, can have on how you remember a series and how you view its story and characters. Let me know what you think in the comments, because I do genuinely find it really interesting. But enough about actual filler, let's get back to episodes that are falsely called filler and find some way to close this video out. To be completely honest with you, I really want more shows to start taking their time and having more of these less important episodes. I really feel like we've lost something with the shift shift to shorter seasons and more streamlined storytelling. We're losing out on so much potential for fun and interesting self-contained stories, potential iconic and quotable moments that you'll talk about for years to come, all of which having the positive side effect of making you care more about the story and characters and letting those big moments you're really watching the series for hit that much harder. I don't think there's anything wrong with giving a story some breathing room after a string of intense episodes, and I think the majority of shows would stand to benefit from being paced out this way. Not every show, obviously, it would always depend on the execution after all, and some shows are way better at this than others, but there's just something special about these non-important episodes that I really missed, and I felt it affecting my ability to care for things that are happening in new shows I pick up. You can interpret this video as, ooh man, Cartoonshi's being the pacing guy again, but pacing is something that I think is super undervalued and not considered too much now. At the end of the day, hype moments in Aura are fundamentally cool, but man, they could hit so much better if they had some room to breathe. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Play Yakuza or something.